Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro physique athlete. Today we're going to be talking about 10 habits that are ruining your life. You have big dreams, you want to be a high achiever, and you want to be known and respected for the impact you have on the world. So what's stopping you from getting there? Today we're going to be talking about 10 habits that are holding you back. Habit number 1, I think almost all of you are going to be guilty of this, and that is overusing social media. We live in a world nowadays where everyone is glued to their phones all the time. The problem is social media becomes a massive distraction that gets in the way of productivity. Also, when you get used to the fast-paced nature of content that we have nowadays, it gets harder and harder to concentrate for long periods of time. And the ability to focus for long periods of time is absolutely critical for success. You need to get over your need for social media and minimize the amount of time you spend scrolling. One good way to do this is to set specific times when you're allowed to be on your phone. Tell you a story. One of the most disciplined and motivated times in my life was when I was an undergrad student. I was trying to get into med school, and that was all that mattered to me at the time. I remember there was a cute girl that I met at a party, and I was kind of into her, and we'd be messaging each other on Facebook. The thing was, I was so focused on studying that I only allowed myself 10 minutes a day to scroll social media at the end of the night. So before I went to bed at 11 p.m., I would get on Facebook, I would reply to my messages, I would reply to her message, and then I would immediately close my browser and then go to sleep. The funny thing was, she would reply almost instantaneously, but it would already be too late because I would close the browser and log out. So we would just swap messages like once a day, which actually went on for quite a while. Nowadays, I'm not as extreme as that, but I'll still minimize the amount of time I spend on my phone, and I'll have set times that I'll use as breaks to reply to messages. If there's something that pops up in my mind that I need to use my phone for while I'm working, I'll actually jot it down and have a list of things I need to look up or message people when I'm actually on my phone. The other thing I would recommend is to purge your feed. I actually actively unfollow people on Instagram when I don't really want to keep up with them. And as a rule, I don't watch Instagram stories at all. You want to clean up your feed so you're only seeing posts from people that you really want to keep up with or people that really inspire you or teach you things. If possible, you want to use social media to produce rather than consume. The second big habit that's holding you back is watching TV. The reason why I hate on TV so much is the opportunity cost. Spending hours watching trashy dramas on Netflix doesn't really add to your life, and it atrophies your critical thinking abilities. Consuming content like that basically allows your brain to shut down, and you're not training it to become better. As a solution, I would recommend watching constructive content instead. At any given time, I'll have a topic that I'm curious to learn more about, and I'll watch videos on YouTube that teach me about it. Reading books will also be a great use of your time. If you can fuel those spare hours into improving yourself, you'll have a massive advantage in the overall trajectory that you take in your life. Third habit that's ruining your life: substances. I'm gonna lump this all into one, but there's a lot to unpack here. I think it's pretty clear for most people that doing drugs is not a good idea. But two of the more insidious ones that I want to talk about are alcohol and weed. There's more and more evidence coming out now showing that alcohol is worse for us than we thought. Particularly a few things that I want to bring up. First of all, alcohol disrupts sleep. I think sleep is absolutely critical for productivity and success, and you really want to do everything in your power to optimize your sleep. Alcohol does have health risks that will increase with the amount you consume. I have to put that one in as a doctor. But alcohol also interferes with your productivity, you're not functioning or conversing on a sharp level, and hangovers will also interfere with your productivity the next day. After a hard night of drinking, your next day is basically shot. From a fitness standpoint, alcohol is also very high calorie, and drinking a lot can drop your testosterone levels. Now the other one is weed. A lot of people will argue that weed isn't very dangerous for you from a health standpoint. The argument that I want to bring up today is more so the indirect effects that it has. The big problem with weed is the opportunity cost of the time you're spending high. Weed makes you want to relax and chill out, and that's not what you need in order to achieve your dreams. People always ask me how I'm able to stay so productive. I'm a doctor, pro physique athlete, YouTuber, podcaster, author, written books, I have friends, I still sleep 8 hours a night, and one of my secrets to success is not using substances. Even if I am out late partying, I'm up the next day feeling sharp and hitting the ground running. If you want to achieve elite level success, you'll want to minimize your use of substances. You want to learn how to cope with stress and have a good time without them. Habit number 4 that's holding you back is watching porn. Throughout evolution as men, we had to earn these experiences by developing ourselves, building our social skills, and our relationships. But now adult content gives you all of that reward without the work. You're going to be less motivated to go out and be productive when you have this at your fingertips. And this basically applies to all forms of enjoyment that come without hard work. I'd recommend quitting completely and focus on developing connections with real girls and developing the skills to deal with them. And if you're out there struggling with substances or watching porn, you'll actually do better by cutting it out completely and going cold turkey. If it's a weakness for you, it's going to be really hard for you to just have a little bit. Habit number 5, the 5th habit we're going to talk about today that you need to cut out is video games. I know that video games are fun and lots of people play them, but similar to TV, the big damage here is the opportunity cost. TV and video games are two activities that people can really spend hours and hours on, and you're not really making yourself better as a human. The other problem is we spend so much time nowadays consuming artificial stimuli that we don't have the space in our minds for productive thought. I call this space mental bandwidth, and I think it's critical for success. If you've ever had great ideas come to you in the shower, you'll know what I mean. You need some time every day for your mind to just decompress in order for you to come up with creative solutions to your problems and new ideas to catapult you to the next level. My solution to this would be to replace video games with working out or a sport. I remember being 12 years old in elementary school, and I would play this stupid game called Tibia, which is kind of like RuneScape. And I remember my dad trying to get me to stop. And he told me, if you just spent an hour a day working out instead of playing video games, you'll end up looking like a movie star. And look where we ended up. I'm a pro physique athlete and I make money as a fitness influencer. The 6th habit that I want you to erase is procrastination. It's one of the biggest villains on your success story arc. The problem is people put off their goals and dreams, and sometimes it doesn't seem like much, like, oh, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start next week. But inevitably something else comes up and they end up just never starting. I'll tell you a harsh truth. A lot of your goals and dreams are time limited offers. There are periods in your life when times are optimal for achieving a certain milestone. For example, if you want to be an athlete, you're going to perform the best in your 20s and 30s. You need to develop a sense of urgency in your life. When you realize how limited your time is, you'll really be motivated to achieve your goals. One of my favorite methods to deal with procrastination is to just get started on the very first step, no matter how small it is. So for example, say your goal is writing a book. That's a pretty big undertaking. And it might seem daunting for you to start on this huge task that's going to take a long period of time. But if you break it down into subtasks and break those subtasks into subtasks, the first step might be as small as taking out a sheet of paper and a pen and writing down some ideas for an outline. The process of committing to the first step actually breaks that barrier of getting started, and getting started is often the hardest step. Once you get going and just start working on something, you'll develop momentum that will carry you through. Another method that I really like is called the Swiss cheese method. If you think of a block of Swiss cheese, it's got all of these holes running through it. If you want to tackle a huge undertaking, one of the easiest ways to get started is to Swiss cheese it. So basically stabbing out little holes. This means just getting started on the easiest tasks first. An example, let's say you're packing for a big trip and there's lots of things that you're going to need to bring along. To Swiss cheese the work, you could start by packing something that's really simple and easy to think about. For example, socks and underwear. You know you're going to be gone for a set period of time, so just pack the right number. Once you start throwing the easy things into your suitcase, it gets easier and easier to work up to the more complicated decisions. Habit number 7 that's ruining your life is comparing yourself to others. Comparison is another really insidious one that's gotten worse and worse in our social media culture. Especially with things like Instagram, it's easier than ever to just pick up your phone and see what someone else is doing in a glamorized highlight reel of their life. Try to think of it this way. Everyone starts out at a different point. There are factors that you can't control, whether it's the situation you grew up in, your genetics, or just the environment that you live in. Also, when you compare yourself to other people, especially when it's on social media, you're really only seeing the highlights of what they post. You don't know what's happening in the other departments of their life. The big takeaway from this one is to compare yourself to your previous self. As long as you're making progress from week to week, month to month, and year to year, you're winning. And you want to learn to reward yourself based on progress rather than actually achieving concrete milestones. When you reward yourself for staying on track and keeping to the grind, you're ultimately setting up a situation where you're going to inevitably reach your goals. Now, there is a positive spin that you can put on social media and your access to all of these people in the highlights. And that is, you can look at the ultra high achievers in the world and use them as inspiration. Habit number 8 that's killing your potential is chasing materialism. Our culture has been engineered to be materialistic because it benefits all of the people at the top who are profiting from consumerism. All the money that you're funneling into expensive clothes, jewelry, and expensive cars is ultimately just going directly into the pockets of these big fish. The key is to recognize the value of money. Money is valuable because it allows you to buy back your time. Time is ultimately the most valuable resource because it's the one thing that you can never get more of. You think about it, when you go to work, you're basically trading away your life for money. And the problem with materialism is that you become a slave to this expensive lifestyle. When you're always living hand to mouth, you end up on this hamster wheel of working and spending. And once you get on it, it's hard to get off. And the problem with big spending is that it stops you from reaching financial independence. You want to get to the point where you have enough saved up or enough passive income that you can effectively stop working, or at least be at a point where work is just an option for you. And being able to save money and use it towards productive investments will allow you to get to that point sooner. My advice is to really focus on minimalism. When you cut out the extravagant luxuries, you'll find that you're just as happy living a minimalistic life. The ninth habit that's ruining your life is not believing in your own potential. You're only going to reach lofty goals if you believe that you can achieve them. I found this particularly hard for myself because you're surrounded by people who think small. Look out to the outliers and see what they've achieved. What's stopping you from reaching a high level of success like that? You need to break out of this celebrity culture. Celebrity culture is this phenomenon where people feel that the outliers in the world, the high achievers, like people like Elon Musk, are on another dimension that you can never reach, and that there's this chiasm between the elites and normal people. But in reality, it's really just a continuum, and it's a path of success that you walk up. You'll find one of the most difficult things when you're chasing success is that the people around you will try and keep you down. And they're basically like crabs in a bucket. The analogy is that when you have a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket, when one tries to get out, the other ones will actually pull them back in. You'll find that the people around you will actually try and hold you back because you becoming really successful is actually a threat to their own ego and their own way of living life. You need to cut those people out of your life and surround yourself with people who really support you in your dreams. Sometimes this is really hard because the people who don't support your dreams are also those closest to you, like your friends and family. You may not be able to completely cut these people out of your life, but learn to turn off your ears and spend less time with them. Our 10th success-killing habit is trying to please everyone. We naturally grow up wanting to please people. And this does have some merit. At some level, you want to be a functioning person in society, you want to do well at work, and you do want to be a positive influence on the people around you. But at some point, especially if you're aiming for lofty goals, you're going to have to prioritize your own goals and needs. The key point to grasp here is that you're actually going to be more useful to your friends, your family, and the people you love by becoming successful in your own right. When you become the best person that you can be, you'll be able to give more to the people around you and to the world. So there's going to be some shift of the priorities in your life. When you're younger, you're going to want to focus more on creating your own success and building yourself up. Once you reach a high enough level of success, you're going to be able to give back to the world on a much greater scale. Think about it. Who's going to feed more hungry people? You could spend your whole life trying to feed one hungry person on the street at a time, or you could become a multimillionaire running an entire foundation that feeds hungry people. I'll leave you with that, guys. What other habits do you see ruining people's lives? Let us know in the comments below. If you really want to become the best person you can be, check out my other video, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Improvement. I break down self-improvement into 4 main categories and give you actionable tips to transform your life. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you really want to level up, and we'll see you next time.